Midnight's best zone holds a dark secret. And I can tell right here, he's pointing off to the coast of, Zul'jan and shit. That island that we've talked about being really what is going to be in the next 12.1 patch. This is where the next raid's going to be. So if you're into like the whole Amani troll aesthetic, we're about to dive straight into that shit with the next patch. I feel like this is where everything's pointing. It's literally you leave the Amani trolls, you leave what the hell was his name? Zul'jan. You're sitting next to him, and you're looking out into this island, and he's talking about bringing the Amani trolls back to glory, but not only that, bringing them to a new power that they haven't seen before. And this island certainly has something to do with it. Let's see what this video is all about here from Bellular.
Sponsored by Squarespace. We've all been obsessed with monitoring a particular strait. That strait is the Strait of Hexalore. And when you look across it, you see this mist-shrouded island.
Hey, we getting World War III memes already? Damn, man, the internet don't wait for nothing. We're already getting World War III memes. You get Strait of Hormuz in there. That's damn.
And here it is again
not
on the
expected
last loading screen. That big, immense mountain right at the very back. It's just off the coast of Zul'jan.
By the way, this loading screen right here, it took me about probably seeing this 36 times before I realized the orientation of it. So if you don't know, this is where Silvermoon is. I'm used to looking at the Eastern Kingdoms, right, from like, I guess it would be south to north. That's like the typical view I'd expect, but it's not. This is actually like looking at it from the side, from the ocean, across the plain. So yeah, Silvermoon's up here, which yeah, this is the Amani land. This is that island off the coast of their lands.
Screen. That
you can see a lot here actually. There's freaking what do we got here? This is Gilneas down here. You can see this is the big wall, right, blocking the city. Where else? You could, I think Dalaran's down here somewhere. You can also see obviously the Plague Lands or what it was, and a bunch of other really cool stuff in here. I think right here is got Strathome, right?
And on the Quel'Thalas loading screen, that big, immense mountain right at the very back. It's just off the coast of Zul'jan.
Exactly.
We're talking about it today because it's kind of important. It's called Atal'Utek. It was once a glorious temple of kings and priests that has long since been abandoned, and for good reason. Something the Amani built their most sacred site on top of, and something they've been afraid to go back for. Its surface is choked with rivers of venom. No Amani has set foot there in generations, and based on what's been data mined, troll-themed tier armor, raid tags, we're actually going there.
I hope you guys aren't still sick of the fell green. Looks like that's what we're going to be getting again. It's all going to be fell green shit, except it's more poison themed now. Although I wonder, what's the story behind why the trolls are afraid of this island?
Armor, raid tags,
some shit
we're
must have
actually
gone down.
there.
They broke the bridge to it.
Let's figure out what's waiting for us on the other side. Here's the thing I've noticed. A lot of people who need a website don't have one, or they have one that doesn't look great. And it's often not because people can't afford it. It's because they just get overwhelmed halfway through building it and quit. But today's sponsor, Squarespace, fixes the problem entirely.
Good old Squarespace.
Their new blueprint system walks you through building your own template. It asks you what pages you need, suggests fonts that actually work together, and it gives you matching color palettes that fit your aesthetic. So you're not just starting from a blank canvas hoping for the best. You're guided by 20 years of design experience that have been baked into that tool. And it then scales with you. Do you need native video hosting? Not embeds, actual native video with a proper player. It's all there in Squarespace, designed to work seamlessly together.
I pre-watched my Squarespace ads, of course.
It looks professional.
What's up,
and when
guys?
you buy something from you, Squarespace Payments handles it all cleanly. So you can build your site for free at squarespace.com/bellulargaming. And then when you're ready to go live, use code bellulargaming and that'll get you 10% off your first purchase
what a deal.
of a site or domain.
Okay, where no Amani dare to go.
In the zone of Zul'jan, we find Altar Keeper Dugal, and he gives us a rundown on the Loa. One of them, Pak, Loa of the Depths, is the keeper of the Strait of Hexalore. In Dugal's words, the strait is, quote, separating us and land we no longer step foot upon. Yet, at the end of the quest...
Zul'jan, that was his name, yeah. Forgive me, I just frickin' learned it, like, a couple weeks ago.
This
is the quest that I was talking about, though.
Staring across the strait, contemplating what may lie on the other side. Contemplating the power he needs to resurrect the Amani Empire. In a slightly unhinged stay a while and listen scene, he tells us what he's thinking, and it may not be what you expect. He tells us that Zul'jan kept the tribes together without the Loa. That's his sister, our main ally in the quests there. He says he resents the Loa for abandoning his people, and he dismisses the Loa's claims of Zul'jan's abuse and lies. If you're not deep in the lore, the basic story is Zul'jan, one of their older leaders, well, was enslaving Loa and doing bad things. So in the character of Zul'jan, we see a young man, a little bit on the back foot.
Yeah, I think he feels like Zul'jan gets an unfair card played because, he was enslaving the Loa and shit, but he was also fighting a losing battle against the High Elves at that time, who had invaded their lands and were conquering their territories, and he was fighting back against them, and he was doing some kind of messed up shit to try to survive those battles. That's what was going on. I mean, it was kind of like a push come to shove, and he tried to shove back by enslaving the Loa and using their power against the elves. So, I mean, it was like a desperate move. Desperation caused him to go that direction, right? If the elves never invaded, maybe he never does that shit. So I think he's a bit empathetic towards it would be his uncle, right? Or his grandfather? I don't know, Zul'jan anyways.
Reminiscing about the past, but with rose-tinted goggles. He makes it clear that he has different goals than his sister, and that neither the Loa nor the Blood Elves fit into his plans the way that they fit into hers. That's because she wants to preserve the Amani, maybe build some friendships, build some alliances. He, though, wants to expand their empire,
right?
To retake Eversong, to bring back what once was. You can very much see Zul'jan's hatred looming over his grandson. But something doesn't add up here. Zul'jan hates the Loa, so whatever he's looking for the other side has nothing to do with Atal'Utek. No, there must be something else on the island. And to understand what that something else may be, we need to go way further back to the founding of the Amani themselves.
Ooh, I like this shit.
Zul'jan commissioned a series of tablets detailing the history of the Amani, and they fill in some huge gaps. But here's where it gets interesting off-screen. These tablets actually went live during early access for Midnight. Players read them, we read them, but then Blizzard pulled them. And they're coming back in patch 12.0.5 with every mention of Amarajin's great power removed. Now this is likely a plot hole fix because the Amani are supposed to have lost this history, but that just makes it more interesting. So it seems the power is still down there, but the Amani just don't remember it. And now, it seems we'll discover this lore a good bit more directly in a future patch.
Yeah, I guess it was such deep lore, Blizzard realized, like, yeah, we put these random tablets everywhere, no one's going to fucking read them, so we got to actually put a quest line together to make them see this fucking lore, which is good. I feel like sometimes Blizzard presents really good lore in the game in a bad way, and people miss it.
Before the Sundering, the Amani fought against Zandalari Dominion. The Zandalari Empire was basically the almost globe-spanning main force on Azeroth at a certain period of time. Now, during this time, Xal'atath was still trapped in the Blade, and the Blade was wielded by the renegade witch doctor Zando. And Zando used Xal'atath to reawaken Kithix. Kithix is a Cathaxi general that had been dormant since the Ordering. That's way back in the past whenever the Titans laid down a lot of beatdown on the old god forces.
I wasn't expecting a Xal'atath lore tie-in here.
Now, when Zando resurrected Kithix, it awakened the buried legions of the old gods and started a war to retake the surface. This was absolutely huge and existential back in the day. So existential that Trollkind united to fight back. And in this war, the Amani, led by Amarajin, pledged to hunt down Kithix, as much to slay the beast as to escape the exploitation of the Zandalari trolls. They traveled far to the northeast into lush forests. They chased Kithix to the foot of a mountain, and there they slew him. How did they take down something so powerful?
So this is why they're afraid of that island? Because Kithix, that's where he was killed? Maybe his corpse is still there?
Tablets tell us that story. They tell us that Amarajin did it with a power that has been lost to the Amani ever since. And that is the big detail that matters here. Not just that they killed a Cathaxi general, but that whatever they used to kill it has been missing ever since. A power lost to the Amani trolls, and a
Yeah, an old god general. Yeah, that's what he would be.
power that an Amani,
That's what Cathix
desperate
was.
or angry enough, might one day seek out in order to turn the tide against the Blood Elves. And from all we know, it's still down there. But to understand what there actually is, we need to return back to the history. After the battle, they built Atal'Utek on Cathix's corpse, and the temple became so sacred that only warlords and Hashe were allowed entrance to it. But here's the thing about Cathaxi. They don't stay dead easy. That corpse has been down there for thousands of years, but dormant might be a more honest word to describe it than dead. And it's not just Cathix buried beneath it. Xal'atath, a snake loa, inhabits the island as well, and it's one of the loa that the Amani seem hesitant to even worship. The island itself is covered in snake motifs. It was even called the Isle of Fangs during Midnight's testing. Now, we don't know if the rivers of green are venom or perhaps some foul magic, and we don't know how much influence Cathix has had on the Loa. So, all that I've covered today points to Xal'atath being some kind of villain. I mean, we have to fight someone on that island, right? And between a dormant Cathaxi and a snake goddess no one wants to acknowledge, Xal'atath has seemingly been sealed up and left alone for very good reason. But sealed or not, there is a prophecy that says someone is about to crack it.
Dear prophecy, yes.
Zul'jan has a vision for the Amani, but for that vision to manifest, they need to reclaim a power lost to the ages. He thought he had found that power in the Lightwood, but that wasn't it. So that power is still out there. Now, the mystic Yayojin once prophesied that Zul'jan would be the next Hashe and would harness a power greater than any troll has ever known. But that did not happen. It did not happen with Zul'jan. No, Zul'jan and the villainous hex priest Malakras abused the Loa's power, and the Loa abandoned them for it. But we just saw his granddaughter Zul'jara become Hashe. So the first part of that prophecy has came true, and that means that the second part is on the table. That part being harnessing a power greater than any troll has ever known.
And that power is on the Isle of Fangs. That's what we're going. So that's what it is. It's this whole... I didn't realize this. There's a freaking old god general buried under there. He's probably going to get freed. And we're going to have to fight him at some point. But then you also got this combination of this Loa and whatever was used to kill the old god general. That weapon is still there. Whatever that weapon is, but Balular briefly mentioned it. That's probably what he wants to go get. What Zul'jar or whatever the fuck his name is wants.
So let's put it together. A great power lies buried underneath Atal'Utek, lost since the Amani used it to slay Cathix. Zul'jara just became Hashe, and that's important.
Zul'jara is the good one.
Because the Hashe are one of only two types of trolls ever permitted inside that temple. And the prophecy says that she is about to harness it. Those threads are not separate threads, they are the same story. Now remember, after that rant about legacy and destiny, Zul'jan went to Amanazar and talked to Zul'jara. He supports her and would likely sacrifice his own vision for hers. But he knows that that power exists, and Amani legend points to it being on Atal'Utek. So I would argue that rather than Zul'jan turn into a villain, it's more likely that it's his obsession with that island that will lead us there. But of course, with Zul'jara being the one who can actually open the temple. But what if I told you that she is not the only one with an interest in what's buried under Atal'Utek? So here's the part of the story no one's talking about. We just learned that Cathix was originally awakened by Xal'atath, through the blade, of course, and through Zando, who was wielding the blade, and that all that went down many, many, many thousands of years ago.
Right.
That's actually how this entire chain of events started. The Amani's exodus, the hunt, the battle, Atal'Utek, the lost power, it all traces back to the character of Xal'atath. And now, her servants are crawling all over Zalaman. We know that in patch 12.0.5, there will be void incursions. Likely Xal'atath's forces actually making a pass on Zalaman, attacking the zone. They're doing ritual sites. So something's clearly going on. Now, yes, absolutely Xal'atath's forces will be there to disrupt the Amani trolls, who are, for now at least, kind of buddying up with us because we all know we need to destroy this big void threat. But with Xal'atath, it's rarely that simple. There's always more going on. Why did she attack there so hard in the first place? Was she perhaps looking for something? Of course, you now likely understand the sort of thing she was looking for. And I think she is circling back. And that whatever is buried underneath Atal'Utek is something that she knows about because she was there at the very beginning of this story. And sure, we don't know exactly what she's after. Cathix could just be another distraction, something to keep us busy while she goes and enacts part 2 of her post-Sunwell plan. Maybe she just wants to wake him up again. Maybe it's to do with whatever power was used to defeat him. Because that power is there. Zul'jan is prophesied to claim it, and with Xal'atath, we now know the entity who started all of this is both.
Whatever that power was able to defeat an old god general, so it must be strong. Maybe something that she's worried could be used against her people, or her generals, or whatever, so she wants to claim it for herself. Makes sense.
Back and interested. Meanwhile, the Vile Branch, once servants of Shadra, have turned away from their patron Loa entirely. They're actually kidnapping Witherbark trolls. They're turning them into zombies. They're claiming to have mastered death. And that's a big link. Now, remember that name I dropped earlier? Malakras. He's the villainous Hax priest from the prophecy.
What Master Death and all. Are we going to see Bwonsamdi? I keep saying it. I mean, are we going to see him? Obviously one of the coolest Trolloa around, and we haven't even heard about him yet.
See, the evil genius behind Zul'jan's abuse of Loa power. It's tempting, then, to think that the Vile Branch will perhaps resurrect their dead cousin, and that maybe we'll be fighting voodoo zombie Malakras inside Ulatek. Perhaps, but what's certain is that something is shifting in Zul'jan. So, keep an eye on the Strait of Haxalor. We will be crossing it for the first time in many generations, and sooner than you think. And if you want to see the other major storyline driving midnight, check out this video about the light, and the fact that it's never been on our side. It's not evil. It's not villainous. It's a little bit deeper than that. It's a bit more interesting. And in this video, you'll really feel it.
No, that was a great video. So that's why they're afraid of this isle. I had no idea about that old god general lore going on there. Temple built on top of his body. What the hell was the weapon used to destroy him? This Loa that's sitting there too. Interesting stuff. And no, that makes sense why they destroyed the bridge to the island. They don't want it rebuilt. But I would love, as I mentioned before, love to see Bwonsamdi come back. Hey, you want to make a deal? Yeah, I'd love to see him come make a deal with somebody again. His deals are great. We'll see what ends up happening, but I would say this is all but guaranteed for 12.1 for sure at this point. So a nice video overall from Bellular.